Hey everyone, welcome back to QA and Dev Tips. Today we are going to learn something that can make your Python code look more professional. That is type hinting. Now don't worry, at first this might look like extra work, but once you understand it, you will never want to go back. Let's start from a real problem. In Python, we don't declare types. As you can see in this example, when I run this program, it prints the word hello. So the same variable initially initialized to a number is again can be flexible. So Python allows us to initialize the same variable to a string, a different type, and Python allows it. Now this is flexible, but in real projects this creates confusion. Imagine you have a function like this, and when you see this function, now tell me, what is the data? Is it a number, a string, or a list? We don't know. Now let's run it. I can call this function using this line, and now let's run it. We can pass the same method, the number to the same method, and the string, and in both cases the program prints fine. So 5 plus 5 is prints as 10, and when you pass the string, it's concatenating. So the same function, different behavior. Now imagine a bug happens. Someone passes a wrong type, something like this. Someone passes a wrong type, for example a list here, and you can see the output still works fine. Maybe that's not what you expected. So here's the problem. Python allows flexibility, but we lose clarity. Now comes the solution, type hinting. So what is type hinting? Type hinting means we tell Python and other developers what type of data we expect. So let's rewrite the same function using the type hints. So you can see the same function here, but here the output is 10 and it works fine. But what did we do? Look carefully at this function. The data colon is int, so the data should be of type integer. That's what we hint to the developer or any reader, that the method parameter here, the data is an integer. And what is this arrow and the int? This means the output will be an integer. So even without reading the function, you already understand. So even without going through the what's inside the function, you already understand what it does. Now try the wrong input. Instead of 5, I say hi or something like this, and then run the program. It still runs fine, right? So it still runs, yes, because the type hints are just hints. Python does not enforce them. So why use them is the question. Because here is the real value. They help humans, not Python. So it's mainly for readability, and so you can quickly understand what the function expects as the input parameter and what is it output. So let's imagine your teammate, one of your team member writes a program like this and sees the method like this, and he's confused because we don't know what this price means. Is this price a floating point number, or the tax is an integer? Now compare this with another variation of the same method but using type hints. This is much clearer, right? Now let's understand this step by step with another example. Now let's take an example of this method, and you can see it has one parameter, and the output and the parameter says it must be a string, and the output must be a string, and that's how it works. So here the name string expects string, and the arrow pointing to the string means the method returns a string. Now when it comes to variables, this is an example of a method parameters. Now when it comes to variables also, you can use the hinting, type hinting. So you can say that hint that this age is of type integer, and we are here hinting that the price is a float. So when we run this program, it's going to work fine. So you can see it's very useful to improve the readability of the program. Now let's move on to collections. This is where beginners get confused. We are using the typing module, and let's take an example of this list example. And you can see when I run this program, the output is 6 as we expected. It's adding all the numbers in the list and doing a sum. And what does this mean? The list here is the type hinting. It means the numbers is of the type list, and the list itself is a list of integers. So that's why we know that this function accepts the list of integers as the input, and the output is an integer, which is nothing but the sum of all integers, which is again an integer. So that's how you can see the readability quickly improves in this program. So anybody reading this function will know what is the input and the output of this function. So now let's move on to another example where we are going to use the dictionary method, a method that uses the dictionary data. So you can see this get underscore data method outputs the dictionary as the output with the string and integer. The key is string and the value is integer. And now when we run this program, we can see the age is the key, which is a string, and the integer 25. So this means, as we saw, the keys are strings, and anyone can easily see that the values returned by the dictionary is 25. So now let's handle another example where you have a flexible input scenario where sometimes the value can be of multiple types. For example, here I have imported the union, and you can see that it can accept multiple inputs, and it can be an integer or a string. So when I run this program, you can see that it accepts integer or string. So that's where we have provided this hint and saying that the value can be a union and of type integer or string. So union means multiple possible types. So that's what we saw in this example. Now let's handle missing values. Sometimes the value is not provided, and what will you do in that scenario? Suppose here we can see when I run this program, the output is hello guest. So you can see here there is a logic here that checks if the name is none. If you don't provide the value to this method, which is optional, as you can see here, which is hinted here, and the output is a string, and if name is none, it returns the hello guest, or else it returns the hello name. So the optional means the value can be none. And let's say I don't give anything here. So here you can see that there is a required argument here for the name, and even though we have the optional parameter, all you can do is, if you don't have anything to provide, you can just say none, and the program will work. Now let's do the modern Python way. So this same thing can be written more modern way. So you can see here we have the type hinting here. So we say that the name is a string and none is none. This is the way of saying that default value is none, and it should be equal to none. That's the only default value it will accept. So if nothing is provided, so this even says that it will substitute the value none. So if you don't provide any parameter, it will just substitute none, and if the name is none, it's going to send a hard-coded string back to the program. So you get the print command prints the hello guest here. If you say a different thing like a valid string here, in this scenario it's going to print the hello ABC. Now let's do a real world example where we again take a simple example of a API response status, HTTP status, and this method checks whether the status is equals to 200. If so, it's going to print true or false. And you can see here the type hint again. The response, the output returned by the method is a boolean because it is comparing the status that is passed to the method with the value, expected value 200. If they match, it's going to return true. So the first one is matching with the 200, and the second dictionary has a status key with a value of 400. So again, you can see here that the response is, the input parameter response is a dictionary, and the dictionary is passed here. So anyone can understand that this method accepts the input as a dictionary, and the dictionary key must be a string, and the value must be an integer. And you can even vary anything and it will still work fine. But the point here is the type hinting helps you with improved readability, so anyone can look at the code and understand what the code needs and what the code is going to output or return to the main program. So now anyone reading this, as I said, will understand this. And one more important concept is type hints do not slow your program. They are ignored at runtime, so you don't need to worry. But tools like MyPy, you might want to check it online. Tools like MyPy or VS Code or PyCharm, they use these type hints to catch errors early. So it's really useful if you are using one of these tools, even the VS Code like we are using here. Now let's simplify everything. Without type hints, the code, the Python is flexible, but then the code becomes unclear. With type hints, you can see here, the code is more clear, readable, and maintainable. So the quick recap here, in this video we saw the type hint is nothing but the expected data type and the expected and the what the output of the program is, the method is, and it basically improves readability and help catch bugs early. So my advice, start small, use these type hints, add them to the function inputs, return values, and you will see the difference immediately. So if this video helped you, like this video, leave a comment and any questions you have, and subscribe to this channel for more tips like this. So I will see you in the next one.